Okay, boys, today the topic is budgets. How can you get started if you've never used a budget before? Should you have just one budget? Do you need a different budget for different areas of your lives?
So are we talking about business or personal or both?
Go for it.
Budgets are the worst, but they're
Necessary.
totally necessary. So I'll talk about my personal budget. We kind of have a monthly type budget. You know, obviously we set our budget for the year for things we know are going to happen, but it is a little hard to set budgets for things like utilities and some of the specifics. So we focus on the stuff that we have total control over. And we make sure that we have pools of money for like cars and Christmas and those kinds of things. And we put money throughout the year so that when we get to Christmas time, it's not a stressful time. It's supposed to be a jolly time. And we've liked that. We've done it for a few years, and I think that's made a huge difference.
That's really smart. Maybe I should start that.
Yeah, and get rid of your credit card, okay?
I love my credit card. I don't feel anything when I run my credit card.
No, you like it that way. But we have actually switched to be kind of serious. We switched from using a credit card always, and we use our debit card more. We definitely
What percentage would you say?
Maybe 80 or 90%, I think, on daily stuff. But there are recurring things that we have to pay no matter what. Those still hit our credit card. It's the stuff that we have a decision to make on, you know, groceries and entertainment and those kinds of things. We try to use our debit card, so it hurts.
But you know you don't get any points off of that.
It does hurt when I hate spending money. So I like budgets because I hate spending money. It lets me kind of know what's going on, and it hurts to spend on a debit card. Like
it probably does. That's
I cry
why I use a
inside.
credit card, because then it doesn't hurt.
Hey, getting back to budgets,
Yes.
how, if someone was going to try and set up a budget, they said, hey, I need a budget, but I don't know where to start. You would say,
okay, if you're a business and you use QuickBooks, QuickBooks has a little budgeting tool that's really great, really simple, really easy to use, and you can set it up to where you can use what you did last year and go off of that and tweak it a little bit. It's really easy.
what if they're a new business and they don't have a last year?
They can still set up a budget. So they can, basically say, this is how much I think I'm going to make, this is how much I think I'm going to spend on advertising, rent, all those fun things, and then they can at least see, hypothetically, this is what it's going to look like by the end of the year on my net income.
So I know this is boring. It really is boring. Like, I hate budgets, but he's exactly right. You have to pick the pools of money that you think you're going to spend on. So, like, when you're doing a budget, you have to know what categories to kind of set aside. So for businesses, they have advertising. They have to spend money on rent and those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. More for the personal side, you're going to have things like groceries. You're going to have things like vehicle payments or vehicle savings, those kinds of things. So you just have to decide, where do you spend your money, set up a pool, and start attaching money to it until you've used up your monthly income, right? And so if you make $2,000, your budget should add up to $2,000. If you make $10,000, your budget should add up to $10,000. So you should have...
So what about savings then?
So that's a budgeting pool.
That's a budget item.
Right. So
Sweet.
Dave Ramsey calls it the zero budget, right? So you should be able to tell every dollar that you make where it's going to go.
Awesome. I think I'm going to start a budget today.
Okay, so for businesses, that's great because QuickBooks will kind of tell you where every dollar has gone. But what about people in their family lives? They are always often surprised where most of their money is going. How would they start doing a budget? How would they start finding out where their money's going?
So I use Mint. So Intuit it's an app that Intuit creates. It's a budgeting tool. And so Mint, we'll leave a little bit of a link on there for you so you can go back and check it out. But Mint it allows you to pick as many categories as you want. And every time that you spend money, it's linked to your bank account. And so it comes in and you just tell every transaction what it was, and it will go into those pools of budget. And then at the end of the month, you can say, hey, I spent this much on food, I spent this much on entertainment or whatever, and I've loved it and hated it at the same time, right? Because budgets are the worst, but it tells you where you're being like frivolous, you know? And I sometimes am surprised at how much money I spend on kind of stupid things. Until I switch to a debit card.
How often should you go over your budget?
How often do you go over your budget, Dan?
Review your budget or go over your budget?
Go over your budget. Do you,
Overspend?
both. Let's say both. How often do you review it with your family? And do you go over budget ever?
Yes, I go over budget. But if I go over budget on one category, that means I have to go under budget on another.
I gotcha.
Right? So if I spent more money on one thing that month, that means I didn't get to put as much money into savings. I didn't get to put as much money into my car fund, which hurts. But again, at the end of the day, you only made so much money. So if you go over budget on one category, you better figure out what you're going to do to make up for it on the other side.
Okay. How often do you review?
I'm anal. So every time I spend money or my wife spends money, she hates it, by the way.
Yeah, he gets texts every time I spend money.
So I get a notification on my phone every time we spend money, and I ask her, what did you buy on Amazon for $92.50?
None of your business, that's why.
That's the response I get sometimes.
Don't worry about it.
But I will say that we've caught a couple of times where people had hacked into like our Target account or whatever, and they had spent money, and it actually was not her. We caught one for $2,000. Somebody had bought some servers back east through her Walmart account actually. So it's not all. It is boring and it's annoying, and I know you don't want to look at your budget, but it is super helpful, and it's made a huge difference on us putting money away for the future. And I can't sleep anyway. I have tons of anxiety. But when I see my savings account going up, that alleviates some of my
It
anxiety.
definitely does give you more confidence to have more money in your savings, for sure.
One other tool I wanted you to talk about. Remember when Jordan Page made her budget boot camp available for people, and she had that spreadsheet, Tad? Remember that?
I do, vaguely. But I do remember it was a really powerful thing. Again, it was a way for her to kind of help people tell themselves where they're going to spend their money. And it helped to track it on a regular basis, and it lets you set specific goals, and at the end of the month, either you met that goal or you didn't, and so you can reevaluate on a monthly basis to figure out, what can we do better the next month. I guess with budgets, the one thing I would say is don't get like super like disappointed and just give up after a month when you don't meet your budget, because we don't always meet our budget, and I'm anal about things. So people that aren't anal, they're going to have a hard time meeting their budget, and that's okay. Just keep working on it is what I'd say.
Awesome. Yeah, we usually do ours at least once a year, and since I actually use QuickBooks for my budget,
Your home budget?
Huh?
Yeah, he's a nerd.
I am kind of a nerd, but
You're the one to talk to.
we use that, and we go through and say, okay, this is what we spent on average on food, on all these other things. And so that has been good, but I think we're going to start trying to do that on a monthly basis and get on a better track.
Did you decide that just now?
Yes, I did.
To sum it up, we've talked a little bit about budgets. They're boring, we get it. But if you have questions about how you can budget in your life a little bit better, save money, accomplish specific things, please leave a comment. We would love to cover that and answer those questions in future videos.
Tad, what's your favorite root beer?
No, that's not the topic.
Is there more than one kind?
It's bars.
I don't
by
drink
the way.
root beer,
Yeah, you
Potato
do.
root
Don't
beer.
lie.
Okay,
minus the root.
but adding the butter.
Replace the root for the butter.